studio audience.
Hey, welcome to Logjam, Halloween edition. Real excited, should be a great show. Hopefully we kill it. We have some very special guests tonight. We have Ann Bufero.
Ooh, and Bufero of the Logjam.
Well, this is Tom Booya.
That's Gomez Adams.
And we're here to excite you once again this week with some great information on the League of Gentlemen.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We got some great show for you this time. We got some recaps of the games, of course. We're going to get into some NFL trades, and as promised, that conversation with Andrew.
Yeah.
Going to be a good show.
Should be a great show. Let's start it off right. This is something we came up with. I mean, it is Halloween-y. So this is a segment we call Trick or Trades.
Trick or trade.
In this segment, Trick or Trades, we're going to talk about the NFL trade deadline deals and how they affect the League of Gentlemen. We had a great participation tonight from our studio audience. Yeah. We thought might go out and see what they had to say. Any questions?
No. Denver trading Descarius Thomas to Houston?
Yeah, that's going to be be a scary trade for the Broncos losing Descarius. You think that's going to be some hits for Emmanuel Sanders possibly. Cortland Sutton out there on the waiver wire, so I guess the Hammers might pick up a little bit. Changes things for tonight. By the time this is podcast, we'll know who has Cortland Sutton.
Yep. Well, Daddy has Demaryius Thomas, so with him being the forefront of this trade or how it affects someone directly, I think this is an uptick for him. He gets off of a Denver offense, which wasn't putting up a lot of points with Case Keenum. Now he goes into a Houston offense where he gets Deshaun Watson. He gets. I like this. I think mostly for Daddy.
Yeah, this is a treat for Daddy for sure.
It's a treat.
After getting tricked with the Will Fuller going out, you get Deshaun Watson. I think that's a bump for Young and Confused possibly.
Sure.
I think it's a bump for Hopkins. Really, Hopkins could have been double teamed the whole time.
Yeah, it could be a trick or a treat there for Hopkins. It could result in him seeing less balls, or it could result in, like you just said, him getting a little more free down the field with less coverage.
I think what he loses in target share, he makes up for in less coverage. I think it's a treat for the Fury. We know it's a treat for Daddy. I think a good trade for both teams.
Absolutely. Who else was traded that you guys would like to hear about?
Guys, what do you think about Detroit trading Scolding Tank to the Eagles?
Well, this one's near and dear to my heart. I mean, I have Golden Tate on my roster, so I think this does affect the Pimps. Not in a huge way, because in that Detroit offense, he still had Marvin Jones Jr., he still had Kenny Galladay. Now he goes to the Eagles, where he's still going to have Alshon Jeffrey. I mean, there's still mouths to feed in both offenses. I just think it's an upgrade at quarterback for him.
I think it's a treat for the Pimps. I think the treat is for Young, possibly for Who's Your Daddy. I think Kenny Galladay solidifies himself this year as the number one receiver that I drafted last year. I think Marvin Jones becomes a more consistent player. That I think that they both are gonna pick up targets and good feelings.
If there is a trick here for anyone in the league, it could be for the Zach Ertz owner, who, when Golden Tate is that under route runner.
I think so too. I think Zach Ertz might be the
balls to go around.
Yeah, I think he's the potential guy that loses some of those inside targets, some of those slot targets. You never know. It could go either way there, but it's definitely a bonus for Carson Wentz getting another weapon. So I think Merci, we saw them put up a big number this week. I think it's a good move for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, guys, what's with the Jags trading Dante Howler to the Rams?
Well, I think it's a guy that was stacked up in a Jaguars defense that didn't get a lot of playing time, but puts him in a rotation in the Rams. I think it's probably a treat for the Rams.
Yeah, it should be a treat for the Rams and for the Rams owner, which happens to be the Pimps. It gives them a little more rush from the edge. I mean, they have Aaron Donald up the middle. They have Ndamukong Suh. They stop the run well. The great corners. This gives them a little more edge rush, which is what Sean McVay was looking for. I mean, you're already polishing a basic diamond, but you can always get better, and I think this does make the Rams defense better.
I think it does. I think it's a playoff run. It's great for the Pimps. On the other side with Young, I don't think it kills them too much. You're already disappointed with what the Jaguars are doing defensively, I think, over the course of the year. I don't think this is a killer there. I think this is a plus for the Rams.
I think this is probably a treat for the Pimps because, like you said, it's a plus for the Rams. While we're on the topic of the Jags, when was the last time you saw a Jalen Ramsey interview? Like with him running his mouth about how receivers are bad and he's not that good. I mean, it's just funny how sometimes that stuff goes away when. I think we got time for one more, guys.
Did the Raiders really trade Amari? All I want to do is kill a DB Cooper.
Yes, they did. They traded them to the Dallas Cowboys. He had a bye week this week to assimilate.
He dropped 3 balls on his bye week.
I still think if you're Merci Beaucoup, I think this is a bonus. I think it gets him in an offense that he's going to be targeted heavily. There aren't a lot of receivers there.
True.
Selfishly, I think for Zeke, I think any kind of stretch in the field, any kind of getting the people out of the box is going to be at least a little bit of a bonus for the Avengers.
Yeah, I see this as a treat for Merci picking up Amari Cooper and at least a shot of him producing. I see this as a treat also, and I hate to say this, but for Ari with Jared Cook, because there's going to be upticks there in Oakland.
We
And
saw Jared Cook put up 17 this week. It could be a sign of things to come. Maybe is this maybe the end of the Jared Cook curse?
should we do that?
I mean, do you have the power to do that?
Oh, we invoked it.
I don't
Somebody
know,
bring out a chicken or something. We can do something, but I think
I don't know about we invoked it, but
Okay.
you're saying you made
this
it.
show, the Logjam, did invoke it, and it's been active for 5 weeks in a row now. So, right here, right now, let's go ahead and in this Halloween edition, exercise the fucking curse of Jared Cook. Ari, at 2-6, nobody's scared of you anymore. So we're gonna go ahead and give you,
Wow, just in time to win out and get to the playoffs. But we'll see if Darren has that kind of power.
welcome to the Yule Log. Today's guest is Andrew Farrell,
How we doing, guys?
manager of Young and Confused, current third placed owner of the League of Gentlemen and one-time champion. It's very nice to have you join us. Thanks for coming in.
Happy to be here, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, good to have you out, man. We big week beating your dad. Might talk about that a little bit later as we get into there. But what's it feel like to be sitting in third place at 5-3 right now?
You know what? It's nice. I got a nice little island. Everyone's got their own things going on with other people, and I'm just sitting there pretty by myself. So, obviously it'd be nice to be first or second, but for right now, it's cool.
Well, the year started out a little rough for you.
Right.
We said on this show a number of times that we loved your roster, we liked your draft, we thought you were going to be one of those playoff
Yeah, had a
teams. It
couple
just
rough
started
weeks,
out
yeah.
rough, but
Yeah.
you've seen the ship correct, and Young and Confused are, on the rise here in third place right now.
I mean, you're one game clear, but you are one of the teams in what we're calling the logjam right now. Third through seventh,
Absolutely.
right there in points. I think it's a
Absolutely.
40 or 50 point difference between all of those teams.
Yeah.
You're not number one in points, but being a game up, it looks good for the playoffs.
Absolutely. I'm looking good for the future as of right now, and I got a nice, easy schedule coming up, so I think everything's looking up.
Cool. Well, you're fresh off putting a whooping on your father.
Absolutely.
What's it like to be your old man?
You know what? It's different. He back in the day he used to make me pick a switch, but this week I took that old man's walking cane and returned the favor.
Nicely done.
Wow.
Well, we had him on the show, I'm sure, if you saw that segment.
Yeah.
And one of the questions we asked him in the Yule log was who his favorite son was, and he didn't say you.
Yeah, I would imagine. I've beat that old man too many times in fantasy. I wouldn't imagine that'd be his favorite.
Understood.
So,
Understood.
I guess the question begs, who's your favorite parent?
I mean, is that really a question to you guys? Do you
Probably
really-
not.
Yeah,
Probably not. We've
I don't
met-
think we need.
we've
to
met
answer
your
that,
father.
Yeah.
Well, clearly that non-answer leads me to believe that your mother is your favorite. Of those, was her favorite Christmas present to you the year she gave you a computer and socks in the same sitting?
That was actually Brian, and that was all of our favorite Christmas presents she has ever given. So yes.
Well, Andrew, another question we'd like to ask you, we've asked a couple guests also, is at this point in the season, things have shaken out. Who do you see as the 6 playoff teams?
6 playoff teams. Well, obviously you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I would say Billy. Yeah, probably because he's got the same record.
Pimps and Titans at 7-1 seem like they're a lock so far.
I would think so. I would be lying, and I would be doing myself, a disservice if I said I wasn't gonna put myself in there. So
There you
yes,
go.
I think I'm gonna put myself in there. Zoros, Merci Beaucoup. I'm sorry, but you guys are probably out. And I'm sorry, Fury. I think he's had a great first half of his year, but I just don't think that success is gonna continue with that lineup.
Yeah, who's
Mahomes
that?
is great, but
Who's that final team that's going to miss?
So you think you're saying the Fury isn't, and then I just assume you're saying the Hammers are not going to make the playoffs?
no. Well, hold on there. So, Zoros, Merci Beaucoup, and Fury, I think, are all gonna not
Okay,
make.
that's 3
That's-
that missed the playoffs, but
Right,
only
4.
6 make it. So who's
Right.
that? Who's that?
The fourth that I don't think is gonna miss or is not gonna make will be the Avalon Avengers.
The Avalon Avengers.
Gonna get overtaken by the Hebrew Hammers, and the Hammers are gonna make the playoffs.
I believe so. I think ours is gonna have a few. I don't think he's gonna go first to worst. I think he's gonna make the playoffs, and I think he'll lose right out real quick.
I
But
think
I think it's just a bad year for you. I think it's just a bad luck year. I think you take a loss this week and you start selling, and next year you're gonna have a lot of picks and you're gonna really come back strong next year. I mean, all your keepers are great. So.
I'm not saying I'm gonna make the playoffs, but I don't think you're very good at math if you think the Hammers are gonna overtake the Fury down 165 fucking points. But,
Fury's scored a lot of points this year, man. They scored more points than me, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't say anything.
well, you
against
just
it.
did. You just said they're not gonna make the playoffs, so that puts.
Well, I don't think they're ever gonna have a great half of this year, but you know, it's still this week. You know, Mahomes is gonna face.
think he understood the question.
It sounded like a bunch of jumble right there, like, but that's okay. I think
But
I think what we get out of that
It is a bunch.
is that Andrew thinks that Ari is going to
gonna
make the playoffs.
And Avalon Avengers will not make the playoffs.
All right, we'll see how it goes.
Week 8 matchups.
How we doing, guys? I'm Andrew Farrell with Young and Confused, here to recap my week with Who's Your Daddy? Who's Your Daddy? My Daddy. It was a weird week, good week for me. Lots of good starts, lots of sleepers getting lots of points for me, and lots of guys on Daddy's bench getting a lot of points for him on his bench. It was fun, we were tied going into the week. We're tied at pretty much points and everything too. I'm pretty sure pretty much tied right there already. So it was a big week for both of us. Both of us needed that win, and I'm really happy to come out with it. But let's dive into it. First, my start of the week was Will Fuller for sure. I started him about 2 hours before his game started on Thursday instead of Kenny Galladay, and that worked out real well. Then Marlon Mack Daddy. Matt. That guy's a sleeper of the year. Really struck gold with that guy. He really pounded it in on the Daddies. Yeah, about 30 points just from Mac Daddy there. Deshaun Watson finally pulled it out with 41 points. I was really looking to get a quarterback before that, so him pulling out that big win on Thursday was really huge for him and for my team. So really happy to get the win and really happy going forward.
In another big matchup between playoff teams, the Pimps hold on and take down the Fury 176-59, moving the Pimps to 7-1. Fury fall to 4-4, just right in the middle of that logjam, tied for 4th place. Big week for James Conner, turning out to be the free agent pickup of the year.
Yeah.
What a difference he's made in so many matchups this year for the Pimps. 41 points against Cleveland. Gurley with 37. You got to be pretty happy with your week.
Yeah, overall, the Ben Roethlisberger. I debated what quarterback to start here. Tom Brady against Buffalo. I had Ben Roethlisberger against Cleveland, and Roethlisberger just felt like the right fit.
Did he?
Yeah,
Since he's been
yeah.
drafted twice by the Fury this year.
It felt like a revenge game for him, maybe. He'd been drafted twice and then dropped abruptly by the Fury, so we let him roll, put up 21 points. Big difference maker in the week. But
We've talked about it a couple of times this year. I don't think Benner's too worried about sitting there with Pat Mahomes, putting up a big number at 37. His Bengals, Mixon and Boyd, both stepped up.
Huge games, both 32-point players. Benner, in all intents and purposes for this, put up, 159? His team had a great week.
Yeah, it's tough to lose when you get to 159. Helps him in points. He moves up to 3rd in points in the league, or just right there. He's 2 points, 4th place. Hopkins has another big week.
Yeah.
I was wondering, have you been falling in love a little bit with Adam Thielen?
It's hard not to. He just tied Calvin Johnson for 8 straight games with 100 yards, and when the game started, the first thing this week I thought was, I got a feeling that tonight's going to be a good night. Tonight's going to be a real good night.
Or maybe you were hooked on a Thielen?
Yeah, well,
I am believing.
Don't Stop Feeling by Journey. Don't stop feeling.
Can't stop this Thielen.
Can't stop the feeling.
Yeah, the game of the week. Who is it?
And the game of the week this week, the Poway Titans take down the resurgent Cardinals Sin, 162-147. It's a game Sin going into it had to have marked on the calendar because this was the no Charger week.
Yeah, it was the no Charger week, and historically, the Sin have taken it to the Titans. They own a really nice record against the Titans, but not so much this week. This is a different year and a different Titans team, and they really came back here. It was a really close game if you guys watched this closely, right up until the end. Went to Monday night. Julian Edelman for Billy, New England Patriot defense for Billy to play, and Corey had Steve Gutowski. Of course, he has him every fucking year, but he had him. So really, really tight battle there to the end.
Yeah, and a big win for the Titans. I think in part due to some great moves. He ends up picking Antonio Brown, which is going to be a huge piece coming forward.
It's a great trade,
But a Mitch Trubisky start, a Philip Lindsay start isn't that crazy, but even putting in there with the Doug Martin and coming out with a win.
Sure, and the reason why we're saying these names that we're saying right now for the Titans and not a bunch of Charger names like we do every week is because the Chargers were on a bye. In fact, 5 of his team members, 7 in total, but 5 Chargers,
2 Falcons.
2 Falcons. Corey, you got the B squad this week, and you still came out with a loss.
And nothing to be ashamed of on the Sin side. Adrian Peterson just went into beast mode. He gets you 30. Andrew Luck gets you 30. Run CMC. I think you fall flat with a Houston defense scoring 3 and T.Y. Hilton only putting up 4. I think that's the week.
Yeah, and he did get a good start out of Andrew Luck. I think he put up 29 points, and that was because Matt Ryan was, like we just said, Atlanta was on a bye.
Also had Des Bryant on a bye. We've been doing that a little bit, but there wasn't a lot of bench scoring for the Sin. 147 is a respectable number, but that drops you to a tie for 4th place and just percentage points behind the Fury.
Exactly. And next week he gets to go against Who's Your Daddy, who's also currently playoff positioned, and Billy gets to take on the Pimps, which, if we can highlight now, and wow, what a game we're going to see next week for Billy, and that should be a great matchup.
Okay, we got 1 versus 2. You got 4 versus 5. There's definitely some big matchups next week.
Another matchup this week, the Zorros took on the Hammers. Zorros came out winners here, 116-109 in a game that basically didn't produce enough points for a win in any other matchup this week, but good for you, Joel. You got the win, took down the evil empire, and puts both teams at 2-6.
Yep. Hammers, this could spell the end of the season. This could make him for sure a seller if he wasn't already. I think the interesting to think about from the Hammers perspective is what would have happened if the Jared Cook trade hadn't happened.
Well, this week in particular, Travis Kelce, who he traded away, scored 20 points. Jared Cook, who he took on, scored 17 points, so that's a 3-point difference. He also got Aaron Rodgers, the one-legged quarterback, who scored 19 points. 18 points this week.
Probably would have started Russell Wilson at 29
Well,
points.
for sure would have started Russell Wilson.
And it shows you those 12 points would have been enough to win this game.
This would have been a Hammer win had that trade not occurred.
But I guess since the curse of Jared Cook's gone,
It's been
it's
lifted.
smooth sailing for the Hammers from here on out.
Smooth sailing, Hammers.
For the Zorros, we know they're in trade mode. Their GM's been on the phone to everybody in the league. But moving to 2-6, I don't think it puts them in playoff contention. I mean, we could see a run, but I think you're still looking at just a positive sign. Some more trade pieces for the Zorros.
Yeah, some more trade pieces next week. He goes up against Young and Confused, who is a real playoff balanced roster, and the Hammers get Merci Beaucoup. So I think it was Merci Beaucou's been lighting up the scoreboard. So Hammers, that should be a really tough matchup next week.
Logjam number 2, 3 teams at 2-6.
And that brings us to Merci Beaucoup versus the Avalon Avengers. Merci gets their 2nd win of the season, their 2nd consecutive win. They're on a tear. 156-104. Avengers fall to 3-5.
Yeah, man. This is the week that you circle on your calendar with Zeke on a bye, with Julio Jones on a bye, but you see Merci coming into town. You're hoping you might be able to sneak through, and it was
Sure.
not the case.
Well, it lined up well for you. Just the guys who you lined up in that bye week didn't really come out for you. And, to Steve's credit as well, he had a great week. OBJ showed up huge. Carson Wentz showed up huge. Sammy Watkins
Sammy Watkins.
plays so fine. Don't you agree?
I have to agree. Sammy Watkins had a fantastic week. 156 is a playoff caliber number. I don't know if 2-6 he has designs on getting there. I don't think he's given up on his season yet, but 156, I mean, that's a respectable number.
It's a very respectable number.
104, not that respectable.
And again, on a bye week, I think everybody circles their bye week possibly as a possible loss when they're kind of counting their things. So
Yeah, but I mean, I had 3 plays you're putting in there. You're trying to get 17 points out of all of them. I get Traquan Smith for 4. I think I get Mostert scores 2 maybe, and Chubb only gets me 9. It's just not going to do it.
yeah, well, that's like 2 out of 3 guys I've never even heard of. So.
Hey, well, I'm yeah.
Well, Le'Veon Bell's coming back for you. He's definitely
Maybe.
he's going to report it. He doesn't want to be franchised again, so you're going to have a piece there. But we're at that point of the season for the Avengers where it's swim time, man. It's full court press time. You get next week. You get the Fury. On the other end, Merci Beaucoup draws the Hammers. So 2 really good games there. The Fury and the Avengers. Somebody looking to put into playoffs or at least get that. And then the other game, the Beaucoup and the Hammers, basically someone looking to end the other's season.
Yeah, I think something you've never seen at the league offices of the Avengers, it could be sell time.
Could be time to sell.
Not yet. Almost. Now. Sell. Sell during an April of 142.
Thank you for tuning into the Halloween edition of the Log Jam.
We hope the rest of your fantasy football season is spooktacular.
Happy Halloween, everyone!
Ha 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 ha!